So I'm sharing a short video about our celebration of Kwanzaa this year. There are some people on social media who saw a few pictures that I posted of our Kwanzaa offering on the table and kind of some of the lighting of the candles and things, and they just wanted to know a little bit more, so I promised to do a short video. This is an educational holiday after all because it does come out of Cal State Long Beach, where Milana Karenga originally started the holiday, and it's based off of like a harvest festival tradition and Africana studies and kind of like an Afrocentric holiday returning to roots. And I do think it's appropriate for everybody to celebrate Kwanzaa because we do, after all, everybody in the human experience and the human race goes back to African roots. So it does celebrate in kind of an Afrocentric way human origins as well as African traditions and culture, and especially and most importantly celebrates 7 principles that really are foundational positive values that are not really tied to any like religious traditions, but just are like, really great values to live by. So I have always really enjoyed this holiday as a mother because I think it is very valuable to teach those principles, those 7 principles. So the colors of Kwanzaa are kind of patterned after the Pan-African flag, with the red on the left, the black in the center, and the green on the right. So that's how you set up your candles. You can see that my candles have a little bit different colors of red and green candles, just based on the candles that were available when I went shopping for my candles this year. So I don't think it's necessarily important to focus on like petty little details like, how red is the red or whatever, or how correctly do you pronounce every single word of the ceremony. But I think it is most important to just focus on those 7 principles and teaching those to your children, and just kind of uniting as a family around the positiveness of this holiday. As well as, I would say, like for my kids, their favorite parts of Kwanzaa probably are lighting the candles, because they usually get to light the candles, and just all of the like great produce, because Franklin loves fruit. So he always likes the display. So there are some basic elements for setting up your Kwanzaa ceremony, and the first is the mat that goes underneath of the harvest produce, and then the kinara, which is the candle holder. But I didn't actually have, my kinara broke, so this is a makeshift kinara that I just made from little small jars, and then I used some of Langston's blocks, and he has some red and green blocks, and then I painted one of his blocks black for the center candle, and just kind of made, like which one of the principles of Kwanzaa is creativity. So that kind of, is standard and fine. And like I said, it's just really a holiday that you can celebrate in your own way, as most families do with any holiday. Just kind of adapt it to what works for you. And don't get too hung up on, like formalities necessarily. Just kind of stay true to the spirit of the principles and the reason for the holiday. So also there's usually some kind of libation and a goblet for that. And then I also set out a couple portraits that I had done, these gilded portraits. This is Madam C.J. Walker, and I felt like she really connected with the principle of cooperative economics. And this middle painting is a kind of remix of the Pan-African flag. And then on the right, actually I have a painting of Frederick Douglass. And so, I kind of just was decorating the Kwanzaa table to go along with the principles, and I couldn't actually find any corn at the store, so I got 2 bananas. Usually I have 2 ears of corn, or however many children are in the household. So I have 2 children still in the household, so usually I have an ear of corn for each child, which I did find corn later. I think they were just out because of probably Christmas or whatever at the time that I went to get the produce. So anyway, and then the vase for the flowers and also the goblet are handmade by Franklin, and a lot of things that so I did the paintings. So the tradition is really to support like creativity and handmade items as well. So that's another part of it that I really like. So the first day of Kwanzaa is the day after Christmas, and the first candle that's lit is the black candle. So you start with the black one in the middle, which is for umoja, for unity. And then you go from there to the outside far left red candle, and then the outside far right green candle, and then kind of like rotate, work back in towards the black candles from left and right alternately. So this is the first day of Kwanzaa, and we've lighted the unity candle, the black candle in the center. So you light that candle as well as the next candle. So you have like 2 candles and then 3 candles, and it's kind of similar to Hanukkah in terms of the 7 candles, the 7 days. There are some similarities there, but it is a totally separate holiday, of course, obviously, than Hanukkah. So anyway, the first one represents unity, and then the second candle on the far left represents self-determination for the second day of Kwanzaa. So this is a little example of how our ceremony goes, with Franklin asking the question Habari Gani, which is like, what's the news? And then me responding with the word for that relates to the principle for the specific candle that's being lit. And then he lights that candle, and then we kind of go back in a call and response way. For every day of Kwanzaa we do all of them, just because I think it's better to recite all of the principles instead of just doing one per day, but to kind of like review. I guess just because I'm a teacher, I like to review and say all the principles that are relevant for that day. So we say 1 on the first day, 2 on the second day, 3 on the third day, and so on. So this is kind of a little bit of how that goes. This is day number 2
of Kwanzaa, the Nguzo Saba,
Habari Gani,
Umoja,
Habari Gani,
Kuji Chagulia. That is unity and self-determination. Our unity needs to be a little stronger there. It's dying. There we go.
Okay.
So as you can see, we always add in a little bit of sense of humor sometimes in our family traditions. But yeah, you can really celebrate this, in any way that suits the style of your family, with dancing, singing, gift giving. As I said, sometimes we have done Kwanzaa in alternate years, like on even years and Christmas on odd years, that kind of thing. But usually when I do gift giving with Christmas, I don't also do gift giving with Kwanzaa unless it's just handmade gifts or homemade things. So these are the 7 principles of Kwanzaa. And as I kind of already mentioned, unity or umoja is the first day, the first principle. And then self-determination, my favorite principle of all of the 7, is Kujichagulia or Kujichagulia, depending on how you want to pronounce that one. And then the third day is Ujima, which is collective work and responsibility. The 4th day is Ujama. Those 2 are pretty easy to say, cooperative economics. And then we have Nia for purpose, Kaumba for creativity, and Imani for faith. And what I do in my household is just kind of have a little conversation each day about those principles, and whichever one is relevant for that day, just kind of talk about it. Like, how can we improve things in our family, or what can we do on a personal level for this principle in the coming year ahead, and just kind of that sort of a conversation and dialogue that really is my favorite part as a parent of Kwanzaa. Langston's jumping on me while I'm trying to do this video. So we have gone all the way through 6 days. So we just have one more day of Kwanzaa left. And usually we have some sort of like a big meal. You can see that I've actually replenished the table, the produce, because that always gets snacked on and kind of dwindles away a little bit at a time. And those portraits, as I said, kind of stand for the Ujamaa and Ujima principles, the cooperative work and responsibility, and Frederick Douglass, and then the cooperative economics principle for Madam C.J. Walker. So the Pan-African flag, I forgot to mention the colors, the red, the black, and the green really stand for the blood, the people and culture, and the land. And again, from an Africana studies perspective, kind of the blood is like the struggle, the people, culture, kind of like a unity and common values, philosophy, and then the land being, of course, related to the harvest or first fruits festival, and just kind of like the motherland being Africa, where we all came from. So we are on the last and 7th day of Kwanzaa, the final day. So we're going to light all the candles, and I'll let you hear how that goes.
Umoja.
Barigani.
Kuji Chagbulia.
Barigani.
Ujima.
Barigani.
Ujamaa.
Barigani.
Nia.
Barigani.
Kaumba.
Bleep.
Turn it sideways. You gotta do like that with the layer. And this is Nia.
I forgot my bad.
Imani is the last one.
So that wraps up our Kwanzaa celebration. Please forgive Franklin's little bleep there when he got burned for a second on the candle. But anyways, yeah, so these are all 7 candles, and they are burned down low. And I usually just let them burn all the way down on the last day and close out the ceremony. And then we drink from the unity cup, the goblet. You know, of course, the libation is alcoholic, so we, being like me and whoever else is 21 or over in the household, traditionally even kids take a little sip, but yeah, like I said, you can do it however you want to do it. It's kind of like communion in a way, is what that's modeled after a little bit. So what I really love about Kwanzaa is, again, the educational nature of the holiday. It is not religious, so it's not really trying to proselytize anyone or convert anyone to any specific religious viewpoints. It's just really based on history and an understanding of shared values. So that's what I teach to my kids, and we have always loved celebrating Kwanzaa. And some years we do it a little bigger than other years. This year was kind of just a quiet celebration because we did gift giving and stuff with Christmas. So yeah, it's just a great teaching tool for parents, as well as a really thoughtful way, from my perspective, you know, just just individually, I love the 7 days of reflection on the 7 principles as it leads up to the new year. So it's not just like New Year's Eve and New Year's Day and you've got to come up with all these plans and resolutions and take stock on what happened over the entire year or an entire decade or whatever. But I always like to do some intermittent fasting during Kwanzaa, during those 7 days, and just use it as an opportunity to reflect and analyze and kind of delve into the philosophical components of the holiday, as well as, just those 7 principles. So I hope you enjoyed this little short overview. And if you celebrate Kwanzaa, I would love to hear, some of the things that you do to maybe teach your kids or to just uplift and empower yourself with the holiday, and ways that you carry on traditions for Kwanzaa. So, like I said, it started in 1966 by Milana Karenga, and it's not, some people say, oh, it's a fake holiday. Well, it's not fake. It's just newer. Like, it's not a super ancient holiday, but it is something that, as I said, can really be an important and helpful and valuable teaching tool, especially for families that have children. So those are my thoughts. So one final thing, some people do ask about, like, what's the proper greeting for Kwanzaa? So I think the proper greeting is like joyous Kwanzaa, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, instead of like Happy Kwanzaa. But I don't think anybody's going to really, get mad at you if you say Happy Kwanzaa. And I'm not exactly sure, like joyous versus happy. I think joyous is just, again, philosophically, maybe a little bit more of an in-depth word. So anyways, that's pretty much all I have to share on this. Langston is now going crazy, and wants to have a whole wrestling match or something. He just got so much energy tonight. So I'm going to wrap up this video and just post it. And joyous Kwanzaa, belated to you, and Happy New Year.